Welcome back to another episode, finally, of Sports Wrap with me, Agatha.
And me, Naveen, it's good to be back, Agatha. It feels like been so long, no?
I know.
Wow, our last episode was like pre-pandemic.
So many things have changed for the both of us as well, for the good.
For the good. Yeah, so quick life update. Agatha is already a proud mother of an adorable young boy.
Yes.
Am I right? Yes. And, well, shout out to my wife. I got married sometime during the pandemic. Hi, Karina. But looking forward now to the future, we have sports coming back. When the UAAP comes back on March 26, that's a Saturday, it's going to feel different from your typical UAAP games. We've gotten so used over the years to the UAAP being this passionate, rabid, excited event, right? You've got the drums, you've got students screaming their hearts out, you've got 40, 50-year-old alumni shouting at the refs, "Oi! Pop!" Something like that, right? Yeah. So I'm curious for you, how do you imagine a UAAP without the fans and the noise and the excitement and just the sport itself?
For us, watching from at home, it might not be so different, but the question is, I think, how about for the players?
Right.
With that in mind, I think it will also lessen the rookie jitters. And there are a
Yeah.
lot of new players, right?
Smart.
With like a lot of new players. I mean, even us, when you look at the rosters, it's like after 2 years, it's not like before where you could see players that are like, okay, he's still here, and then they left. Now it feels kind of like, whoa, is everyone new?
When you think about the Ateneo Blue Eagles, of course, they're defending champions. They went undefeated the last time we had the UAAP. 2 years later now, they've lost, 3 years later now almost, they've lost some key personnel. They have some guys still coming back. When I think of a player I am excited to watch for Ateneo, I think of SJ Belangel. Because the last time we saw the Blue Eagles in the finals, SJ was playing really well. And we all knew 30 was leaving, right? The Nietos were leaving. So it was like handing the keys over to the other guys, the younger guys. And I think SJ is next in line in terms of great Ateneo point guards. And of course, when you have Kwame is like the fulcrum. He's the the big man, protects the paint, scores in the inside, but you need that lead ball handler. And I think SJ can be that guy for them.
I've heard it said that Ateneo without 30 is definitely different. But it's still Ateneo, and they're not the type of team, right, that relies on a certain player heavily too much. So although like in other schools, when they lose like a key player like that, it's definitely like you can feel it.
Yes.
I don't really worry about that, like personally, because I've heard it said, right? I mean, even as a team, they've had so much time to practice. They've had actually, like, you would think, an advantage because of all the bubbles that they have, because of Gilas also, right, with the players there, and it's like they're ready for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about the maturity that SJ Belangel has, and all the other players too.
So let's talk about the FEU Tamaraws. Now, over the years, FEU, the last 15 years specifically, they've only won one UAAP championship. But if you follow UAAP every year, you know that FEU is always in the championship picture. They're always giving teams problems. They're always competing to make the Final Four. I was talking to Coach Olsen Racela a few weeks ago about his team, and he did say that most of his players are rookies and sophomores. So one guy, well, there are three guys who are really to look out for in FEU. You have LJ Gonzalez, you have Cyrus Torres, and you have the newcomer, RJ Abarrientos, the nephew of PBA legend Johnny Abarrientos. I am looking forward to watching Cyrus Torres play. Number one, I think because from those three guys, he's going under the radar the most. But if you watched how he was playing before the pandemic stopped the UAAP, I thought that there was a lot of potential in him. I thought that he was a great three-point shooter for a rookie. I thought that he was making good progress in terms of being more of a penetrator as well. His game was being more rounded. He's not as athletic as LJ or Abarrientos, but I think he kind of plays that role that RR Pogo used to play for FEU back in the day.
FEU is always a contender. I mean, they're like that team that you never know what to expect. I mean, obviously on the positive side, they're never mediocre. They're always, contenders
in the picture. They have something to say. One thing also that's interesting that we will be watching out for is that Olsen Rosella's brother, Nash Rosella, who used to be the coach of FEU, is now coaching Adamson. But no one can deny that Coach Nash, when it comes to college basketball, he knows his stuff.
Yeah.
He's found success in FEU, he's won a championship, he's developed a number of players into PBA standouts. And that's why I'm excited for what's to come for Jerome Lastimosa, who was a standout for Coach Franz Pomaran back in the day for Adamson before the pandemic. And now we know that Nash has a good history of developing point guards and playmakers. So I'm curious to see how Jerome will perform under him. If he can take that leap from like a player to watch out for to bona fide UAAP star who could average maybe like 16 points and 5 assists a game.
Yeah. With Jerome Lastimosa, I'm excited to see him be more stable and like mature, because like he would really be a good offensive player, but I want to see him like be more of a leader, I guess, in the team, because he's been in the UAAP for a while. So yeah, this is his chance.
Let's go to University of the East, because we were talking about Franz Pomaran. I'll be honest with you, I don't have a specific player for UE I might be looking forward to, because as usual, UE is young, trying to build a culture.
Yeah.
I am curious to see how Coach Jack Santiago is going to perform at University of the East. Coach Jack, for many of you don't know, was a protege under Coach Franz Pomaran over the years, first at LaSalle and then Adamson. So he has watched what it takes to win a UAP championship, what it takes to make the Final Four. But of course, nothing is guaranteed. Just because you were learning under a great coach, it doesn't mean you will be a great coach, right?
Yes.
We've seen that over the years. But he has enough experience in his belt to know what it takes to start making progress.
The key word is really rebuilding, because you know I think they have a good foundation. Is it something that'll make a splash this season? We never know, right? Anything can happen, but you're right. No expectations. But it would be nice if they surprised us.
Exactly. Let's see what Coach Jack can do. Let's go to National University, NU. So NU has a good history of developing their high school talents. NU's high school basketball program, you can make a case, has been the best in the Philippines, in the UAAP at least, the last 1-2 decades. Problem is, they haven't always kept their high school standouts. You know, guys like Carl Tamayo, Terrence Fortea, they're somewhere else now, all right? Their head coach is somewhere else now. But Coach Jeff Napa is now with the Bulldogs, and he has history of, you know, helping teams succeed, helping teams win. The player I want to see perform well, though, is Sean Ildefonso. So Dave is gone from NU, he has gone to Ateneo, and now Sean is the leader of the team. He's in his last season. I think he might be the team captain. I'm not sure. I'd have to confirm that. And I think he's going to get the chance to really get a lot of shots, get the opportunity to show what his game is. The thing with Sean coming out of high school was that he was more of a big man in high school, but he was not that tall to play that position in college. So how has he reworked his game? Is he going to be more of a perimeter threat now? Is he going to be more of a shooter? Is he going to be a slasher? Will he try to bang bodies against the big guys inside? Because I've heard a lot of good and exciting thoughts about NU's rookies and young players, sophomores, those who came from their high school batch, but they still need a leader. You still need that veteran presence, right?
We were talking about how there are a lot of rookies, and there are a lot of, well, not necessarily rookies, but then, you know, more younger players that haven't been able to play in the UAAP. So it's nice to kind of see the key players that also you remember from maybe the past seasons that could like be the key to rounding everyone up and guiding everyone. And yeah, so it's nice to look at those things to see where the team could go.
So another thing worth remembering is players might just suddenly not play games this season because they might suddenly get COVID.
Yeah.
Right? That's why the UAP is allowing teams to have more than the usual 60 number of players, like a reserve player in case a player gets COVID.
It really makes a difference when a team has a deep bench. And you know a team that has a deep bench this season is UP. So there are a lot of players to look out for. Who are you most excited to see?
Wow, you know, honestly, that's hard to pick one because
Right.
I feel like there's so much going on with UP. They were busy with recruitment during the 2 years. There was no UAAP. They had some people transfer to them too. They recruited some Phil-Amps from the United States. They beat LaSalle at the recent tune-up game.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, they beat LaSalle by 10. They beat UE also, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
and they've performed well against other schools. So those are promising signs. I have to say CJ Cancino. CJ
Yes.
Cancino. And that's because CJ was in the center of the UST Sorsogon bubble, right? We know this, right? And we know that was the biggest sports kind of topic during the pandemic. I'm curious to see how he's going to perform, especially with a head coach like Coach Goldwyn, who knows how to get the best of his players. CJ has always had the potential, the promise of being like a superstar in the UAP. He's had the game for it, right?
Yeah, we've learned that individual talent doesn't necessarily mean that the team will, go
Win. Yeah.
will win, to put it simply, right? So now, we have a deep bench, but then the question is, will the players gel? Will they gel at the right time too? And that's the same thing that you think about for all the other
All schools,
right?
yes,
So
yes.
that's why even if, we can talk about all the talent, all the players to watch out for, but it's not something that, you can be so sure about when it comes to where the teams stand,
Yeah.
because it's definitely going to be different once the UAAP actually starts.
I'd also anticipate more injuries this season because I've been talking to coaches and they've told me that players are so excited to get back to the action. They want to go full speed, but then they haven't played competitive competition, at least consistently, the last 2 years, that suddenly there's a sore Achilles or the knee gets twisted or matatapilok, right? Or sasakit yung shoulder mo, right? So I think we're going to see nagging injuries like that. And that's why depth is even more important this season.
Yeah, this season.
Juninho Manansala is now the head coach of UST. So I want to give Coach Manansala a chance. I want to see how he builds on this new job that he has. And when I talked to him a few weeks ago, I also did an article on him for the Raptors Sports page. He mentioned that the system he's running is exactly the same as Coach Alden. From his words, walang nagbago.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and now if we're talking about players to watch out for, I'm going to pick Jordy Gomez Deliano. UPIS standout, UST got him. He did not follow the path of his brothers. He did not become a UP Fighting Maroon. He's blazing his own trail. And he's very promising because he's 6'4", 6'5", and he's a shooter. Coach Gidinho, when I talked to him, he told me Jordy's one of the players to watch out for. So I'm curious to see how Jordy will develop and how he will differentiate himself from Juan and Javi.
Yeah, that's true. And you can really tell that they just have athletic genes. So for sure. But you're right. I'm excited about that. There's there's a story that unfolds there. Obviously, it's personal for him. He wants to make his own name. So that's something to look out for.
The last team, that's the De La Salle Green Archers.
Of
So
course.
a team that I've worked, I've written articles about. I talked to, I'm from La Salle,
Yeah.
so I have my certain sources and connections there. I expect La Salle to have a slow start this season. I think when you try to put a head coach like Derek Pomaran, there's a system there, a strict system to follow. The press, defense, offense, and it takes a while to learn that. And they have a lot of new players. Like, this isn't the La Salle of old. Only Baltazar has really remained. Maybe Jet Manuel's brother also, Wacky Manuel is still there. But there's a lot of new guys. A lot of new guys with promise though. You have Mark Nono, you have Evan Nelly, and Mark Nono from UST, of course, Evan from San Beda. And then you have the Phillips brothers, Benjamin and Michael. Those are guys to watch out for as well. But the player I'm really looking forward to watching is Baltazar. I think this could be an MVP season for Justin Baltazar. But before the pandemic, the La Salle community was not happy with the Green Archers. They missed the Final Four 2 straight years. They weren't contending for championships, and you talk to any diehard La Salle basketball fan and they will tell you that is not right. That is not right. So they brought in a La Salle head coach from back in the day who has won championships for the school in Derek Pomaran. Will this be the season that the La Salle basketball program turns a new chapter? We shall see.
Is it enough to bring back the Ateneo La Salle rivalry, the classic rivalry, or?
I think that rivalry never left, even if one school might be beating up on the other a lot. Not literally, guys, but the Ateneos kind of dominated that matchup. But I think it would bring more intensity to the games if La Salle can be competitive with Ateneo.
Yeah. Looking at, it might be too early to say, but looking at the rosters right now, I mean, there's a part of me that's definitely hopeful that I actually have a strong feeling that the teams are gonna be up, really aggressive with Ateneo. And I think it might be good game against Ateneo between the other teams. So.
Yeah, I think Ateneo will have a bit of a learning curve without 30, without the Nietos, the veterans they have there. But ultimately, because of Kwame and SJ, I think, and Dave, let's not forget, Dave is there too. Rafi Verano's coming back too. I think they're still ultimately the favorite. So Agatha, I wish I brought like a present to give you and Paul because Blackwater won a game for the first time since October 2002. I'm just gonna give you a clap for now.
I was there.
You were there.
It was
Congratulations.
so exciting.
So that got me curious. What was like happening the last time Blackwater game before this recent win? So Trump was still the president. What comes to your mind too?
We were still wearing face masks, face shields.
Face shields?
And face shields.
Duterte was having his midnight press conferences.
That he would delay and we'd wait for.
Exactly, and we'd see a lot of angry tweets about.
Oh, yes.
What else? Ooh, you didn't have a baby yet?
Yes.
I believe.
I was still pregnant.
Exactly.
And now my baby's walking.
Oh my gosh, time flies.
There wasn't a vaccine yet.
There wasn't a vaccine. Cases were like, what, 2,000 a day? Maybe like more. We weren't allowed to drink at bars we weren't just allowed to drink at bars, period.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And the only basketball locally was the PBA because they had a bubble.
Oh my God, yeah. And remember, personal reasons. Okay, well, hopefully Blackwater's win is not only a sign of things to come for the PBA franchise, but a sign that maybe the world is headed towards a good place as well.
Definitely.
Definitely. Okay, and with that, I'm Naveen. Thanks for joining us.
And I'm Agatha. And after 2 years, that's a wrap.